The humble onion. You will over time end up chopping and slicing and dicing a lot of onions. I end up slicing and chopping a lot of onions because they're in a lot of different things, in a lot of American cooking and everywhere else too. So you need to know the easy way. It's hard to cut round objects. You see how they roll around? And so one of the first things you want to do is create a flat surface to make it easier. And so what you do is you have two ends of an onion. You have the root end. This is where if it were growing, it would be growing this way. The roots would come this way and the stem would come out this way. So you have the stem end here. And so just take and slice off that little stem end. What I do with these pieces is I throw them into my thing to make stock with. Be sure to go back and look at the stock videos in order to make stock. You then have a flat surface. It's pretty solid. Not going to move around as much. Grab your knife, remember, with your forefinger and your thumb and your hand then, and then just slice this thing in half. Be sure you have a good solid grip on it. And now you can really work on it. So you peel your onion here, take off the paper and the parts that you don't need. I'm trying to show you here the heavy paper came off earlier, so we don't have the dark brown paper on this onion. But you take that off, this little thin one here comes off as well. And then you have your onion. Do the same with your other half. Take your peel off. Onion, since you use the, take the peel off, you generally don't wash it, but this does have a little bit of dirt in here, so we want to clean that off. You don't want dirt in your food. And so there we have our 2 halves of onions. Now, if we are going to dice these onions, and so I'm going to start with this bigger one here. A dice is to form it into a little square, so you have this round object that you need to form into squares. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut horizontally into the onion and get it started that way. I've been taught that you're supposed to put your palm on. I don't feel comfortable that way, so I do it this way. And then you just, as you can see here, sort of at an angle, you just start it. And you can't hold the knife that way when you're doing this. You have to be very careful because you actually put a lot more pressure on here. And you take the knife through until you get near the back, sort of like that. That's close enough. And then this one's pretty big, so we're going to do it a second time up here at the top. And again, you come near to the end. Take your knife out, so it's now got 2 slices right here. And then you come over here and you do this. This time you do hold your knife this way. You grab your item like this. If you grab your items with your fingers like this, your knife can go right here on your, right down the front of your finger. And none of your fingers are in front of the knife blade. They're all behind your knife blade. You probably could even do it this way to get it behind there. But that will give you solid control. You have a firm grip on this thing. Your knife's got a nice solid point in it. And so there you have it. So for this, you come close to the edge again, but not all the way to the end, and just cut down. And you make your nice little same length cuts here. Now when you get to the end, I end up having to do this last one. And so now you have all these cuts this way. And so all you need to do in order to finalize this is you just slice this way. Now what you want to use is the back end of the knife. The back end is your heavy end of the knife. That's really designed for this. And I was taught you keep the knife point down on your cutting board, but I've never actually been good enough to learn how to do that. And then you just slice away. You grab your onion again like this, and then you can come right down here on your finger and kind of use your other fingers to squeeze the onion together. All your fingers again are behind where the knife was coming down, and there you go. And this can go into your stock pot, and there is half of a diced onion right there. Actually, it was a little bigger half. So here's your other half. If you just needed slices, all you would have to do now is just slice this half, just like chop, 1, so there you have your slices. If you just wanted to slice it, I'm still dicing for tonight's dinner. So you put this in here. You have to be careful. I have gone through a couple of times. Then you need to make sure your arm is up, and then you'll be able to stop it before it does any damage. And again, put your little slices in here. I'm actually getting teary-eyed from slicing the onion. Usually that doesn't happen to me, but this time it is. And then again, your final cuts. And back into the stock pot, and there's your onion. Since I'm using dice, I'll put that into the stock pot. Any of the paper or anything, you put back in. And you'll see that they're mostly the same size, and that's what you're ultimately aiming for. You want your pieces to all be of a similar size, because then they cook evenly. And you want your pieces to cook rather evenly, as opposed to having big pieces and little pieces cooking at different lengths.